A small drenched child sobbing outside a notorious biker bar should have been just another tragedy. But when these tattooed Hell's Angels surrounded him, something extraordinary happened that transformed an entire community. What could possibly drive these feared outlaws to not only help a homeless boy, but completely change their reputation in ways no one ever expected? Rain pounded the dirty sidewalk outside the Devil's Forge bar, each drop hitting like tiny hammers on the metal awning. Above, the sound mixed with deep rumbles of motorcycle engines and men's rough laughter inside. Blue and red neon lights cut through the darkness, painting wet puddles with strange colors that rippled when the wind blew. The bar sat at the edge of town where most people knew to stay away after dark. In the shadows between street lights, a small figure moved slowly, trying to keep close to buildings for some shelter from the rain. Jamie was just 7 years old, but his eyes looked much older as he searched for anywhere dry to rest. His blue hoodie, now dark with rain, hung heavy on his thin shoulders. His sneakers squished with each step, the left one showing a hole where his big toe sometimes peeked through. 3 days. That's how long Jamie had been alone since coming home from school to find their apartment empty. His mom's clothes gone. No note, just empty cupboards and a notice taped to the door about Miss Rent. He had waited that first night, sure she would come back. By the second day, hunger drove him to wander, carrying only his Spider-Man backpack with a change of clothes, a toy car, and his math homework he'd never turn in. Jamie sniffled, wiping his nose on his wet sleeve as he sank down against the brick wall beside the bar's side door. The small overhang offered little protection, but it was better than nothing. His stomach hurt from emptiness, making sounds he tried to quiet by hugging himself tightly. Tears mixed with raindrops on his cheeks. Inside the Devil's Forge, Axel Crawford felt the cold air rush in as the door opened. At 45, he'd spent more than half his life as part of the Steel Wings chapter of the Hells Angels. His black leather vest covered with patches, showing his rank as president, stretched across his broad shoulders. A long gray, streaked beard covered most of a scar that ran from his left ear to his chin, a reminder of a fight from years ago. Someone left the damn door open again, he growled, pushing back from the bar, where he'd been talking with 3 other members. The jukebox played an old rock song, nearly drowned out by pool balls cracking together and bottles clinking. Smoke hung in layers near the ceiling, lit by hanging lamps with red glass shades. Axel's heavy boots thudded across the worn wooden floor as he headed to close the door. That's when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong among the rough noises of a biker bar. A child crying. He pushed the door wider instead of closing it, letting rain hit his face as he looked out. At first, he saw nothing. Then movement caught his eye. A small bundle of blue fabric against the wall. What the hell? He muttered, stepping outside. The rain immediately soaked into his shirt, but he barely noticed. As Axel moved closer, the bundle became a boy. Knees pulled up tight against his chest. Something twisted in Axel's chest. Memories flashed. Himself at 10, hiding from his father's fists. Sleeping in parks when home wasn't safe. The hunger and fear that had shaped him. "Hey kid," he said, trying to soften his naturally rough voice. He crouched down, his knees popping from years of writing. "You got somebody looking for you." Jamie flinched away, pressing harder against the wall. He'd been chased from the grocery store and the bus station. Already, adults always wanted him gone. But when he looked up through wet eyelashes, he saw something unexpected in the scary man's eyes. Not anger, but something else. Something that made him slowly shake his head. No. Axel looked around at the empty street. Rain dripping from his beard. No sign of parents. No one searching for a lost child. Just darkness, rain, and a boy who clearly had nowhere to go. Axel held out a rough hand, calloused from years of working on motorcycles. "Come on in, kid. At least get dry," he said. When Jamie didn't move, he added, "Nobody's going to hurt you. Promise." Something in the man's voice made Jamie believe him. With shaky legs, Jamie stood, clutching his backpack to his chest like a shield. Axel didn't rush him, just waited as the boy took one small step, then another. The warmth hit Jamie like a wave as they entered the bar. Heads turned, conversation stopped. 20 pairs of eyes, some curious, some surprised, some wary, stared at the soaking wet child standing beside their leader. Mama Rosa, Axel called toward the kitchen. Need some help here? A large woman with dark hair, tied back in a red bandana, pushed through the swinging doors. She wore a food-stained apron and had flour dusted on her arms. Her eyes widened when she saw Jamie. Santosello, what have you found now, Axel? She asked, already moving forward, wiping her hands on her apron. Found him outside, soaked through and alone, Axel said quietly. Rosa knelt in front of Jamie, her eyes soft. Unlike the bikers with their tattoos and leather, she reminded Jamie of his kindergarten teacher, the kind who always had candy in her desk. Hello, sweetheart. I'm Rosa. Are you hungry? She asked. Jaime's stomach answered with a loud growl before he could speak. A few chuckles broke the tension in the room. Rosa smiled. That's answer enough. Come with me, she said, holding out her hand. When Jamie took it, her fingers were warm and soft. In the kitchen, Rosa sat Jamie on a tall stool while Axel leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. The smell of grilling meat and fresh bread made Jaime's mouth water. The kitchen was small but clean, with pots hanging from hooks and pictures taped to the refrigerator, mostly drawings from children. Those are from my grandkids, Rosa explained, following his gaze as she placed a glass of milk in front of him. Now, can you tell us your name? Jamie, he whispered, taking a small sip of milk. It was cold and fresh. Better than the sour milk he'd had at home last week. Jamie, Rosa repeated, with a smile. And where is your mama or papa, Jamie? His lower lip trembled. Mom's gone. Don't know where. 3 days ago. Axel and Rosa exchanged looks over Jaime's head. What about other family? Grandparents? Aunts? Axel asked. Jamie shook his head. Just mom. And she said. His voice caught. She said I was too much trouble. The wooden spoon in Rosa's hand cracked as her grip tightened. She turned quickly to the stove, but not before Jamie saw the anger flash in her eyes. Axel moved closer, pulling up another stool. Listen, kid, you're not trouble. Whatever your mom said, that's on her, not you. Got it? Jamie didn't answer, just stared at his hands. He was so tired, so hungry, so scared about what would happen next. Rosa placed a plate in front of him, a burger bigger than his hands, golden fries, and even some carrot sticks on the side. The smell made his stomach hurt with wanting. Eat first, talk later, she said gently. While Jamie ate, Axel stepped out to the main bar. The usual Friday night crowd had gone quiet, curious about their unexpected guest. Axel nodded to Big Pete, his vice president, and Duck, their treasurer. Kid's name is Jamie. Mom abandoned him 3 days ago. Been on the street since. Axel explained in a low voice. Big Pete cursed under his breath. We got to call the cops, boss. Child services. I know, Axel nodded. But not yet. Kid needs to eat, get warm, feel safe first. Then we'll make calls. Duck, always practical, was already on his phone. My sister works nights at the hospital. I'm asking what we should do, who to call. Around the bar, men who scared most of the town were now pulling out phones, talking quietly. One grabbed a first aid kit from behind the bar. Another disappeared outside, returning minutes later with a plastic bag from the 24-hour store. Dry clothes that might fit a small boy. 2 hours later, the Devil's Forge looked nothing like its usual Friday night self. The jukebox was turned down low, playing soft rock instead of the usual loud metal. Most of the regular customers had left, sensing something serious was happening in their place. A strange gathering had formed. 15 tattooed, leather-wearing bikers, all focused on helping one small boy. Jamie sat on a pool table, now dressed in dry clothes, a black t-shirt with a motorcycle on it that hung to his knees, and sweatpants rolled up many times at the ankles. Someone had found him clean socks, and Rosa had gently dried his hair with a towel. His wet clothes tumbled in a dryer in the back room. "Kid needs to see a doctor," said Doc, a club member who worked as a nurse at the county hospital. He had checked Jaime's temperature and looked in his throat. "Nothing serious, but he's got a bit of a cold starting." Duck returned from a phone call, his face serious. "Police station says we need to bring him in. They'll call child services from there." A rumble of unhappy voices filled the room. Everyone knew what that meant. Jamie would enter a system that was overworked and underfunded. He might end up somewhere worse than where he started. "We do this right," Axel said, his voice cutting through the noise. "Buy the book, but we make sure he's taken care of." Outside, engines roared to life as half the steel wings prepared to escort Jamie to the police station. Axel wrapped him in a leather jacket that smelled of oil and cigarettes, but was warm and heavy, like a blanket. Rosa packed a bag with sandwiches and cookies for later, she whispered to Jamie. "Places like that don't always have good food." Jamie looked around at the faces watching him, faces that had seemed scary just hours ago, but now felt like protection. "Do I have to go?" he asked, in a small voice. Axel knelt down. I with the boy." "Yeah, you do, but listen to me good. We're not leaving you there alone. That's a promise." The police station's bright fluorescent lights made everyone squint after the dim bar. The desk sergeant's eyes widened as 15 bikers walked in with a child. His hand moved toward his radio. Until Axel raised both hands to show they came in peace. "Found this young man outside our bar," Axel explained. "Name's Jamie. Mother abandoned him 3 days ago." The sergeant looked suspicious, but Jaime's small voice confirmed the story. Social services was called, but it would take time for someone to arrive. The bikers settled into wait, ignoring the uncomfortable plastic chairs and the stares from officers. Hours passed. Duck made coffee runs. Big Pete told Jamie stories about motorcycles that made him giggle for the first time. Doc spoke with a police medic about Jaime's health, and Axel watched it all, his mind spinning with plans. When the social worker finally arrived, a tired looking woman named Ms. Parker with kind eyes, but a stressed face, she was shocked by what she found. Not just a child with bikers, but a child with advocates. "He needs these medicines," Doc said, handing over a list he'd written. "And he's allergic to penicillin. Here's clothes that should fit him," said Tiny, the largest biker, holding up the shopping bags they'd filled, plus some toys and books. "This is my card," Axel said, pressing it into Ms. Parker's hand. "My number. My wife's number. Our bar number. You call us if he needs anything. Anything at all." Parker had worked in the system for 15 years. She'd seen many children brought in by police, by neighbors, by teachers. But never had she seen a group of supposed troublemakers show such care. "You understand, I need to place him in emergency foster care tonight," she explained. "The system has procedures." "We understand," Axel nodded. "But we also understand systems fail kids all the time. We're just making sure that doesn't happen to Jamie." Ms. Parker looked around at the rough men filling the police station. Men with tattoos and scars and criminal records. Now standing as guardians for a boy they'd just met. "I'll make sure he gets placed with one of our best families," she promised. "And it's unusual, but I'll keep you updated on how he's doing." As Jamie prepared to leave with Ms. Parker, the tough bikers suddenly seemed unsure what to do. It was Rosa who stepped forward, pressing something into Jaime's hand. A small teddy bear, wearing a tiny leather vest with the steel wings patch sewn on it. "So you remember you have friends," she whispered, hugging him tight. 2 years. Passed like the changing seasons, slowly. At first, then all at once. The maple tree in front of Ms. Thompson's house turned gold, then bare, then green. Again, marking time as Jamie grew 3 in taller, and his nightmares grew 3 times less frequent. Ms. Thompson hadn't planned on becoming a foster mom. As a 4th grade teacher, she volunteered sometimes at the Children's Services office, helping kids with homework while they waited for placements. That's where she met Jamie, clutching a teddy bear in a tiny leather vest, his eyes full of questions no 9-year-old should have to ask. 6 months later, she became his foster mom. 4 months after that, she started adoption paperwork. The sunny afternoon found Jamie sitting on the porch steps, a comic book open on his lap, though his eyes kept drifting to the street. Today was the 3rd Sunday of the month, visit day. His ears caught the sound before his eyes confirmed it, the distant rumble of motorcycles growing louder as they turned onto Maple Street. Neighbors still peeked through curtains when the steel wings arrived, but with less fear than before. The sight had become strangely normal. 5 to 10 motorcycles parking neatly along the curb, their riders bringing gifts and stories and steady friendship to the boy they'd found in the rain. Axel led the group as always, now with a few more gray hairs in his beard. Behind him rode Rosa on her own small motorcycle, a gift from the club for her 60th birthday. Big Pete, Duck, Doc, and Tiny followed along with whoever else could make it that month. There he is, Rosa called, parking her bike and opening her arms wide. Jamie ran to her, no longer the shy, frightened boy from the alley. His hug nearly knocked her over. Did you bring it? Jamie asked, looking eagerly at the saddlebags on Axel's motorcycle. Bring what? Axel teased, pretending to forget. Oh, you mean this? From his bag, he pulled a small leather vest, sized for a 9-year-old with the Steel Wings logo on the back and words stitched beneath it. Honorary little brother. Jamie slipped it on over his t-shirt, beaming with pride. Ms. Thompson came out with lemonade and cookies, greeting the bikers by name. After 2 years, they had become an unusual extended family, one that worked because everyone put Jamie first. Tell him the news, Rosa nudged Axel, unable to contain her excitement. Axel cleared his throat. Remember how we said we wanted to help other kids like you? Well, it's official as of yesterday. The Steel Wings for Little Things Foundation got approved. We're going to help kids in foster care across the county. What had started with one boy had grown into something bigger. The club now organized Christmas gift drives, summer camps, and mentoring programs. Members with criminal records that prevented them from being official mentors helped in other ways. Fixing bikes, teaching skills, raising money. Those who could pass background checks became court-approved mentors like Axel. Ms. Parker says you're making her job easier, Ms. Thompson said, referring to the social worker who still checked in with Jamie. She has 6 kids signed up for your first summer program already. As the adults talked, Jamie showed Duck and Tiny his latest art project. Drawings of motorcycles with fantastic designs that would be impossible to build but were beautiful in a child's imagination. Maybe an engineer in the making, Doc said proudly, like an uncle watching a nephew's talents grow. Later, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the street, the bikers prepared to leave. These visits were shorter now that Jamie had settled into his new life. School, friends, soccer practice, a room painted blue with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. He didn't need them as much, but they came anyway. Before mounting his bike, Axel knelt down, his knees creaking more than they had 2 years ago. You good, kid? Everything you need. Jamie nodded, then surprised Axel with a fierce hug. Thanks for finding me, he whispered. No, kid, Axel said softly, his voice rough with emotion. Thank you for finding us. As the motorcycles roared away, Jamie stood on the porch beside Ms. Thompson, waving until they turned the corner. The teddy bear with its leather vest sat on the railing, a reminder of the night. Everything changed. Ready for dinner, Ms. Thompson asked, putting an arm around Jaime's shoulders. Yeah, he said, looking up at the woman who was now legally becoming his mother. I'm ready. The same rain clouds that had driven Jaime to seek shelter outside the Devil's Forge 2 years ago now gathered again on the horizon. But this time, he had more than one safe place to weather the storm. A home with Ms. Thompson and an extended family of unlikely guardian